morning, everybody. It's your girl, Miracle Sims, and you're listening to God, Sex, and Love. Your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. It is June the 26th, 2021, and today the topic is communication. So, those of you all that are watching me live, then I probably can see it on my face, but I don't know. Maybe if you're listening to the podcast, perhaps you hear it in my voice. Again, I don't know. To be honest, I'm a little bit all over the place in my mind right now, trying to figure out, what I'm going to say. But at the same time, it's like, well, I tell you guys all the time that I just pray that God says whatever He wants to say through me. So I never know what I'm going to say, honestly, when I turn this thing on. I mean, I think I have a general idea that, okay, I'm going to share these Bible verses that I found. So I know that. But other than that, like every other thing that I say, it's just whatever comes to me in this moment that I'm talking to you, to be honest, So I guess given the inspiration of this conversation, I'm a little bit hesitant and perhaps it's in wisdom, trying to listen, which is what we talked about yesterday. Listen to, I would say to God and to, what He wants me to say and do in this moment. But I guess also because of, again, the nature of the inspiration of the conversation. So, who knows where this is going to go. So I pray that you all bear with me. And, yeah. Well, I guess I'll start like I always do, right? And tell you guys what happened yesterday. Yesterday was Friday. I did have, I guess, what you would think to be downtime because, the situation of me not having to necessarily go and help at the summer camp. And so, But again, it wasn't necessarily downtime for me. Again, I'm always working on this and that, and of course taking care of my son and everything like that through the day, and working on different little tasks online and just all this stuff, right? And so, at some point, it was like I had said to myself when I finished the juice yesterday, I was like, I'm gonna go back to sleep, I'm gonna get back in the bed, I'm gonna do all these things. But, I got back in the bed, but I didn't go to sleep. And, and so it's just one of those things that I guess when I'm up. And then I'm all multitasking. I'm always multitasking in some way. So that's what was going on yesterday for the most part. Then I ended up having, a few conversations throughout the day, yesterday, or whatever the case is. I talked to my homeboy with Bro's Catering, so there you go, another shout out, Bro. It's Bro's Bites. Bro's Bites. I need to keep that in mind. Because that's, all the social media is Bro's Bites. But anyway. And then, I had a conversation with my mother as well. I had a lot of conversations yesterday, honestly. Before it was time for me to have a conversation with Mr. Dorsey Ross. So shout out to those of y'all that tuned in last night and, saw the episode with Mr. Dorsey Ross and him expressing his desire for marriage and love and all these things. Like I said, if you guys are, believers as well, I hope that you all pray with me and all of us that are, praying that he receives the desires of his heart. Like I told him yesterday, I definitely understand. But I believe that God will give him the desires of his heart. I mean, God gave me the desires of my heart, and I understand that, he's living with a disability and everything like that. But, I've seen people with disabilities have love, and So, if God do it for one, he can do it for another, regardless of the disability and everything like that. So, I guess I'm gonna stay on the lookout. I'm gonna be looking for that information to come out. One of these old days that he's found that woman of God that he's looking for. And so shout out to Mr. Dorsey Ross again. Thank you so much for sharing your testimony and your story and the transparency of looking for love. So this morning, oh Lord. Okay, so we'll let me to the topic today. To be completely honest with y'all, this is how it went. So I did not do my full routine. I ended up kind of doing something else, basically watching a video or whatever the case was, instead of the warm up and stretches. And then after that, that's when I did my prayer meditation. And prayer meditation was good. It was one of those things. It was like the reminder about seeing God in, when you have lack and also when you have, when you're full, like seeing God in both areas, in life that we can be in. So again, it was a really, really good reflection and everything like that. However, afterwards, although there had been a few things that had stood out in my mind between when I woke up and when I started to look up Bible, I think again okay, so the conversation I had with my mother yesterday was for me it was like a lot of up and down in regards to the way that I was personally feeling. And this is strange because I know she's probably going to hear this because she's like, if no one else listens to this thing, she does. So, and at the end of the day, it's not, it's like, okay, I understand, the request that my mother made. I don't know when to address the specific situation because I don't think that this conversation about communication is well, I don't know, maybe it is, am I being convicted in this moment, Lord? I don't know. Maybe it is about that. Maybe I should just tell y'all. Well, I mean, honestly, we talked about a lot of things as we tend to do. Like, me and my mom will talk about a whole lot of different things, but I guess one of the things that stood out was the conversation or about my testimony that I've shared with you all in a previous juice and throughout previous juices, and throughout episodes and whatnot. Y'all know at least I try to be a voice for the individuals that have dealt with molestation. I shared my testimony in the previous juice. I don't intend to hash all of that out right now. I meant to look it up to tell you guys which juice it was if you want to listen to it. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just find it and put it in the Go Deeper section. I'll put whatever episode it was, and I'll add that to the Go Deeper section if you want to go and listen to that, my full testimony or whatever the case is. But yes, it deals with molestation. Now, the conversation in regards to yesterday is, I think, it's the cross between, I guess my mother looking for understanding of when things happen, as well as wanting it to be clear that she did not know about these things, which in my mind I thought was clear. To be honest, I thought I was very, very clear that I didn't talk to anybody about it. So just to be clear, I like to, for the record, and I guess moving forward as well, whenever I talk about this, I will be clear and try to remember to say that my mother did not know anything about what happened. Now, see, it's hard because the fact that I'm not telling you guys the story, you know what I mean? Because I'm trying to just let you go and listen to it in the previous things. I'm not trying to make this whole thing about that. But maybe again, it all has something to do with communication. Because as we spoke yesterday, and I hope you don't mind my transparency, my apologies, or something like that. I hope you don't feel disrespected by me sharing, or whatever the case is. But I'm sharing to say that at some point my mother and I realized that we have a similarity in regards to communication. She can say on her side, I'm not gonna, tell her testimony, because at the end of the day, it's like obviously she can tell her testimony better than me. However, I would just say that with me, look, believe it or not, podcast listeners, and those of you all watching me live, believe it or not, your girl grew up with, I would say, communication issues. And one of my communication issues was feeling as if I was either misunderstood or that I shouldn't express myself. Now, I don't think that this goes back to what happened, because in my opinion, from what I remember, I believe I was 3 or 4. So when the situation in question that I shared already in the molestation, when the molestation happened, I had to be like 3 or 4 because my sister didn't come into the picture till I was 5. So, and this was all before her. You know what I'm saying? So it had to be 3 or 4. You know what I mean? So, fine. And to be honest, here we go. So, to be honest, it bothered me when that my mom. I don't want her to feel bad about what happened, because I don't feel like it has anything to do with her, and that's just me being honest here. I've expressed to you all what my mother instilled in me, and yeah, I believe anybody listening to the sound of my voice or hearing me or seeing me or whatever, then you see what my mother has instilled in me. So again, the molestation has nothing to do with my mom. I think the only thing, if we're going to say it has to do with her, is she trusted somebody. She trusted somebody that used her trust. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, like, from what I remember, I don't remember it being a horrible experience. You know what I mean? It just was, to be honest, it was okay. I was kissed. But if you're kissed in a sexual way, because there's different types of kisses. Okay, there's different types of kisses. So if you're kissed in a way, right, that we know or grow up to know as being sexual, then for me, I can't speak on everybody else. I know people go through worse things, right? And so I'm not trying to make it like my situation was worse than nobody else's situation. Again, I've heard children going through horrible things. Don't get me started talking about the human trafficking issue again, because I'm hearing that majority of the people that are being trafficked are kids. So let's not go there. You know what I'm saying? My situation was nothing like that at all. All I remember is being kissed, then maybe touched, or maybe, let me see, maybe, what is that word, Lord? You just gave it to me and I lost it. Maybe I was, I'm not say convinced, but encouraged. Let's go with that. I was encouraged to probably touch this woman in a sexual way. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened. you know. So that's what I remember, you know what I mean? And that you know, and it's like a 3 or 4 year old, like what does a 3 or 4 year old know about that? You know what I mean? And if a 3 or 4 year old knows about that, then that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, in these days that we're living in, it's everywhere, right? So it's not going to be easily as noticeable as probably back in the day, which is why I'm talking about it, and which is why I have these conversations. So I think everybody understands that. However, I don't know. So, in regards to the situation, I don't know why 3 or 4 year old Miracle didn't communicate what happened. I don't remember it being a bad experience. You know what I'm saying? So I think that might be why. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But I think perhaps maybe that's why I kept it to myself, because I didn't necessarily see it as something bad at 3 or 4. Now, when I grow up, right, you learn. As you get older, you learn things. And so, obviously, at some point, I learned the word molestation, right? And put 2 and 2 together that what happened was molestation. You know what I'm saying? But that's what happens as you learn, as you grow, as you age, as you mature, and you get more understanding, right? You get more understanding. So, what does this all have to do with communication, Miracle? Well, again, like I'm sharing here in my testimony today, what I'm sharing with you all is I struggle with communication. And I don't think it's necessarily from that situation, but it's but the question or the conversation that my mother and I had yesterday was centered around that. And it helped me to realize that, I think I already realized that I had an issue with communication, but my mother also confessed that she had an issue with communication as well. So, again, that's her testimony to tell. So I won't go into that. I can only share my stuff. You know what I'm saying? So for me, as we talked, I felt, I felt a lot of things, but when she shared her side of what she has also felt in this communication, with her communication, and I was like, well, Mom, at the end of the day, we're both saying the same thing here. I also have felt this. Maybe hers was a little different from mine. I felt like my communication issues, and here I am. I'm just gonna be honest. I think what I remember, it started to come from. Okay, I ain't gonna lie. I think I told you guys before. There was a phrase that was said to me, and I don't know if it's necessarily that she said it. Growing up, it was that balance of respect for my elders. You know what I'm saying? I think, the way she raised me in a way that I received information was that I understood at an early age that, not about respect, you know what I mean? About, respecting elders, and everything like that. And so, a phrase that I definitely appreciate now as an adult, but when I was a child, it kind of was one of those, for lack of a better way to say right now, annoying phrases, was to stay in a child's place phrase, because that was used to silence me a lot. Now, I'm not, I don't feel like this has anything to do with my mother, you know what I mean? Like, she was an open book with me, you know what I mean? We did, we talk and, everything like that, and I feel like we still talk. But that doesn't stop me from feeling misunderstood, and I think I've shared that there's just a few people in my life that I've felt as if it didn't matter what I said or whatever the case was, it didn't change. And I don't how can I say it, Lord? How can I say it? Like, because it's not like I'm trying to, it's not that, it goes back again to the communication issue, because it's like, for me as a child, being always told to stay in a child's place when it came to things that I wanted to express, or just me expressing myself, you know what I mean? Especially when I witness, I think that's what makes me not understand the way things are going on with kids these days, and not talking about nobody in particular, whatever case it is. I'm just gonna say in general, when I look at the children these days, and the fact that the things that they say to their parents, the things that they say to teachers, the things that they say to adults, period. I can't even, in my mind, imagine myself being a child saying things like that. You know what I mean? And so for me, observing the way kids communicate, like, okay, on one hand, it's like, I think allowing a child to be able to express themselves, you know what I mean? I think that's good. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. However, again, there needs to be balance, though. There needs to be, hey, child, again. So that's why I say I have a better appreciation for the phrase stay in a child's place now, because I do feel like children need to, stay in a child's place. They don't need to be addressing adults like an adult, you know what I mean? They don't need to be communicating about adult things, you know what I mean? Like all of that stuff, right? So they don't need to be participating in adult things. They don't need to be thinking about adult things, in my humble opinion. So again, I bet you all are thinking like, what do you mean, Miracle? You got a problem with communication? You do all this talking. But I would say that I think growing up, one of the things now is I try my best to be as open and honest as possible with my thoughts, with my with communication. Let's just put it there, with communication. So there's certain people that get it more. Like my husband, he gets like, I guess, all of me, which I mean, obviously, of course, right? But I mean, especially in regards to communication, because I definitely, whatever I'm feeling, or whatever the case is, I try my best to express to him, because I don't want it to ever be a situation where I feel as if I'm holding something back, and then now this is going to come back up into our marriage, and then it's like, well, Miracle, you didn't say it, you know what I mean? And it's like, no, you knew how I felt, X, Y, and Z. So, so now I try my best to communicate as much as I can. But growing up for me, I had to find other ways to communicate, right? So I think I started to write, right? I started to write poems. Man, I wish I had these poems from back in the day, even though I remember them being pretty bad and full of profanity and things like that. And I think it did. I do recall a time where my mom found those poems and she seemed very hurt by them. But unfortunately, what happened was, what I remember happening is that I gave them to this girl so she could write them in calligraphy, because my handwriting, obviously y'all already know about my handwriting, because I wrote bad on purpose, but anyway, so I gave it to this girl to write my poems in calligraphy, and she moved and never came back, and I never got my poems again, and I never saw those poems again, and unfortunately I didn't copy them. I was maybe high school, middle school, high school, or something like that. And so so what I'm saying is, for me, understanding about respect, understanding about, adults and all those things, I just knew that I couldn't say things because it would take things to another level. That's what I felt like happened with me, right? I felt like times when I did try to express myself, it would just be taken out of proportion. It would be taken to a whole nother level that I didn't want to be. And to stay off that level, I would just not say nothing. Now, again, I don't think that this is older Miracle, right? This was not 3 or 4 year old Miracle. So, again, I know I shared that part of the testimony earlier, but, and I don't think the two go hand in hand per se, but I'm just saying that's what it was like for me. Communication issues and everything like that. So I say all that to say that at the end of the day, who I am now, right, who I grew to be, is again someone that's doing my best to not only express myself, but hopefully help other people express themselves. That's what GSL has become. That's what even this whole thing with the juice and whatnot. I mean, like I said, I guess y'all are like my verbal diary or something. I don't know. But so that's why it was difficult to even approach this conversation today, because it's like I have to be open and honest as I've been in every other episode. You know what I mean? So to be honest, I didn't know I was going to talk about this. Like, by the time the word communication came into my mind, I was thinking, right before it came into my mind, I was thinking, now maybe this is just going to be a freestyle today. Like, maybe I'm not thinking of what it's going to be, because every time I looked up the words that were coming to my mind, I wasn't resonating with the verses. They weren't standing out to me. So yeah, right when I thought that, that's when the word communication came into my mind. And that's leading us to this conversation today. Now, I know that took a long time to get to why I'm talking about communication. But here we go. So, Ephesians 4:29, it says, "Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouth, but only such as is good for building up, as it fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." I'm going to keep going because of the time of what I've already put in. So, Proverbs 15:1, it says, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." So, if I just reflect on those for a moment, like, honestly, again, we talked about listening yesterday. We talked about, like, sharing the truth and love and everything like that. And so, the more I try to communicate as an adult, it's like I'm still struggling in this area, because I don't want to be disrespectful, right? I don't want to make anyone feel like they're not being heard or understood. You know what I mean? Things like that. And I try to be that listening ear for people, and also to help them, try to understand others. But I'm also human, you know what I'm saying? And I need that same thing, And at the end of the day, I think it's kind of hard. It's been hard for me to communicate to certain people. So there's certain people that I can, like, fully communicate with, and then there's certain other people that is like I sort of communicate with, or and I think, well, according to what I read in the Bible and things like that, I think maybe that's part of the wisdom, right? In regards to listening and talking and all those things. It's like, all right, sometimes it's probably what I'm supposed to do is probably listen, right? And so I try to do that, or vice versa, or knowing who you're talking to. I mean, did I write down that verse today? Let me see. Yeah. Let me share it with you. It's Colossians 4:8. It says, "Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person." You see what I'm saying? Like, so I guess again, that's the wisdom behind this whole situation of, like, I can't communicate, for example, with my mother the way I communicate with my husband, or I can't communicate with my son the way I communicate with my dad or something. You know what I mean? It's like, or even certain people when it comes to friends and stuff like that. I learned that, I realized that there's certain friends that I was able to be completely honest with, and not just say give them hard truth, but give them truth that would hopefully help them and encourage them, or whatever case was, even if it was something that might hurt or something that maybe we all had to work on things. But I'm just giving examples right now. I just know there was the difference between certain friends of mine too. It's like, okay, I can tell this person the full-on truth and they can receive it. But then there's other people that, maybe they couldn't necessarily receive the truth, and so you had to find a better way to tell them. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's this whole communication conversation, y'all. And I guess my prayer this morning, if I go ahead and continue, is 141:3, Psalms 141:3. It says, "Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips." That resonated with me this morning when I read it, because I just was like, that's the thing, Lord. At the end of the day, okay, I see that you are leading me to talk about communication today. And you have the things that, again, my mother and I discussed and whatnot on my mind. And I know that this is a hard subject, right? Even in general, if you're going to talk about molestation, if you're going to talk about childhood trauma, if you're going to talk about this human trafficking and all this different stuff, it's traumatic, right? These are things that are like, touchy subjects and things like that. So again, just to be clear, on my mother's behalf, she had no clue of that. You know what I mean? Like, because here's my thing again. I've thought about these different things, like throughout my life, right? Because I've shared with you guys before, things that happen in childhood, the kids end up carrying with them throughout their lives. So this is an area that I struggled in, because I struggled in my thoughts, right? I struggled with, how did I feel about this or that? I've shared the whole testimony, so y'all can go and check that out. I'm working on a book, so y'all, hey, be on the lookout for that. Hey, look, y'all gonna hold me accountable now, because I just told you. So I guess y'all can hold me accountable, because I've been struggling about whether I was going to put it out or not. But, I just told y'all I would, so there. But, again, it's like I say all that stuff to say that I try my best to take accountability for my actions, right? So when I realized, right, because, okay, there was some point in my adult life that I really just took the time to think about me and think about, why are you doing the things you're doing, Miracle? At the end of the day, I think I've shared with you guys, I always wanted love, I always wanted marriage, I always wanted my husband, not knowing who he was, but always wanted him, and was trying to figure out, but I was single at the time, and, kind of sort of dating here and there, but not, but I was fooling around more than I was dating. That's the honest truth. There you go. And fooling around is what kissing or anything that's before sex, or like, what do they call it? I can't even think right now. Foreplay. So whatever you may know as foreplay is probably what I was doing around that time. Sorry, mama. You know what I'm saying? I don't. But again, I'm sharing these things to say that when I really, really thought about it, and these are the reasons why I'm talking about this stuff. When I really, really thought about it, is I believe it stemmed from that seed of molestation. You see what I'm saying? The seed of molestation introduced those things to me at that young age: kissing, fondling, whatever. So then I'm growing up thinking about these things, right? And it's clouding my judgment of like how I'm dating or how I'm interacting with men or whatever, you know what I mean? And so what I'm saying is, like, it was a process. It was a process to get to where I am now. And so I'm sharing my process in the hope, because I know that there's other people going through similar things, and not even just that, but now again, it's on a whole nother level now. It's on a whole nother level now, with the way that our minds are being confused and everything like that. But we know who the author of confusion is, right? So, y'all, I know I'm sharing a lot on today. I'm sharing a whole lot on today, and I'm sharing it in pieces. So again, if you want to hear my whole testimony about what happened and whatnot, it is in the previous juice. Just look at it on the in the Go Deeper section. But in regards to this conversation about communication, that's just some open honesty about me as an individual. And so that's why I thank and praise God for where I am now. Because my husband, for example, we talked yesterday, and he was like, I can really tell that you enjoy what you're doing in regards to this podcast and the talk show and everything like that. And I was like, you can tell? He's like, yeah, he was saying that he sees he sees it in my eyes and everything like that when I'm talking about, the show and stuff. And that meant a lot to me. That means a lot to me. Because I do care. I do enjoy this, and I believe that I think I worked up throughout my life to be at this place of being just open and honest and communicating, right? It was interesting too, because I would say, now growing up, I would have called Lord, okay, here we go. So in high school, right, you know how you guys have superlatives and everything like that. In my mind, I was like, oh, I'll get biggest flirt easily. Because anybody that really knew me knew that I would be flirting. I was a flirty person, or, flirting or whatever the case was. But obviously not many people probably knew that. Maybe my friends, but like other people, I thought maybe that was the known thing, but maybe not, because I know that I had, like, for example, Author Tukula Speaks, when she joined my group, my women's group, Unwind Self-Care and Sip Spa here on Facebook. And I went live one day. She was kind of surprised about, I guess, me or my personality. And I would say, I guess I get that, because maybe to people that didn't know me, right, or like my friends or people that didn't like communicate with me all the time, maybe I seemed to be quiet, and I could see that. You know what I mean? I think I probably was a quiet child, or I was somebody that, for me, it was like I was more observational, like I would be taking things in. But at the same time, too, there's also this part of me that y'all see, right? On the juice and stuff. I'm silly and everything like that at heart. So it's just one of those things. I think right now, for me, again, this platform does mean a lot. But I mean, maybe this is another, it's me working on my own personal communication, right? At the end of the day, I want to be understood, as much as possible, as well as understanding others and things like that. And so, maybe those that grew up with me didn't know that Miracle had so much to say, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever, but, I don't know what to say to that. All I can say is that in this moment right now, like I said, especially like I say with my husband, and with people who can understand or willing to have open communication with me, I can have open communication with them, and that's but we have to all be willing to do that. To be open and honest and everything like that. And if we can't be open and honest, then we can't, not to say we can't communicate, but it's going to be hard to communicate. And so there you go with that. But let me share a little something else with you guys, then we'll let you guys go. So it's Psalm 19:14. It says, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." Like I said, I can't communicate with everybody the same way, right? Mom, I love you. I respect you. I honor you in the position that you are in. I appreciate you. I believe that everything good that anybody sees in me was instilled by you. The testimony of the molestation, again, I don't feel any ill will to you. I don't feel any ill will, period, honestly, about it. And I understand. And now maybe, hopefully everybody else understands, anybody that listens to the sound of my voice. I would hope that everybody understands that my mother is a phenomenal mother. She is a phenomenal mother. And what happened has nothing to do with you or your parenting or anything like that. At the end of the day, the person that was left to watch me was someone that couldn't be trusted. And I believe that at some point when you realize that about this individual, then I already know, like you rectified that, now maybe you didn't know it was as deep, or whatever, but it's not, to be honest, it's not that deep, not to me. For me, I was just introduced at a young age to things that I feel kids should not be introduced to. Kids should not be kissed in a way of like how I kiss my husband. Kids should not be kissed. You know what I mean? Like that, for me, that's plain. And I'm an example of what can happen. Now, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. On my end, on that end, but I believe that the things you instilled in me led me to be who I am. And I don't know who I reach and touch by the things that I'm doing right now. But what I hope is that whoever listens to the sound of my voice is encouraged and inspired. And so at the end of the day, I hope that you're at least proud of that. And that this, will help with the clarity that you want to make sure that people have, because I did hear you, I heard you, and this is my way of honoring that wish. So again, I don't know how many times I've said it, but anybody that listens to the sound of my voice understand that my mother did not know about the molestation. It wasn't something the thoughts that I had centered around the molestation was not something I even wrote about. And that says a lot, because I used to keep a diary and I used to write the poems, as I told you all. It was just something that I just stayed in my mind throughout life. And I didn't verbalize it until a certain time, and maybe we'll talk about that another time, or whatever the case is. However, in regards to me growing up and everything like that, so I guess this was news to my mother, even though I feel like we talked about it. I feel like we talked about it back in high school. But what I'm saying is, this communication thing. I hope and pray that this brings clarity. And, again, Mom, I'm trying to honor your wishes by just being, just saying it outright, and everything like that. And so, like I said, I will do my best to try to remember to, moving forward, whenever I talk about this, to be clear that you didn't know. And I know that you don't condone anything like that. You are a righteous woman, Mama. You are a righteous woman. I aspire to be as righteous, and so I thank you. I appreciate you. I hope that you see fruit from the seeds that you planted, and not from what and we just thank and praise God that the seeds that the enemy tried to plant did not flourish, and that's the juice. Now the Bible verse of today is Hebrews 12:11. It says, "Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterwards getteth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby." Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all on Monday, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye.
This podcast has been brought to you in part by Inspirational Therapy Session Incorporated, inspiring teens since 2002.